when I walk into a hospital room or home birth, I'm leaving everything from my day behind and I am 100% focused on my client. And I certainly, encourage the doulas on my team to have that same kind of reverence to what I consider the holiness of birth.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Pelvic Pulse podcast. We are sitting with Kristin Revere. She is the owner and founder of Gold Coast Doulas in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She is an elite certified birth doula, a newborn care specialist, a childbirth educator, and an elite certified postpartum doula. Wow. She is the co author of Supported, Your Guide to Birth and Baby, and the host of Ask the Doulas. She's a mom of two and a bonus mom to one. So I feel like we are very, very lucky to be sitting with you. And I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. How are you feeling in your body today?
I am feeling great thanks to your meditation, Brittany. And it's been a busy day. I've had a lot of travels recently.
Mm,
And so I'm trying to get caught up with work. And
okay.
the agency is very busy lately. So it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, yeah, that's super fun. Did you travel anywhere for like pleasure or just for work?
So we went to Orlando. I brought my kids. My husband had a work trip there.
Nice.
So we just got back a couple days ago. And then I had a couple work trips back to back in April.
Okay, wow. Love that. I'm actually headed to Florida myself at the end of this month as we're recording.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Actually, I'm going to be visiting a friend who is on her fertility journey, so it'll be really,
Oh,
really cool.
so beautiful.
Yes, yes. Okay, where to even begin? I feel like you probably have shared many times your own experience and how that landed you in this work, right?
Right.
Um, yeah. So do you want to share? Okay, you are all these things, a birth doula, a childbirth educator, a postpartum doula. Which one did you start with? Just out of
I
curiosity.
started as an educator,
Ah,
and my
interesting.
students asked me to be their birth doula. So I took my family to Florida for a 4-day training and then started working in the collective that my own birth doulas ran initially, and then went on my own and started my doula agency, Gold Coast Doulas, in 2015. So
Wow.
we are nearing 10 years as an agency.
That's incredible. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
quite a feat, especially being an agency and actually, how many people do you have working under you? Women only or?
Women only,
Mhm.
and it varies with maternity leaves, but we're hovering around 26 right now, with one about to go on leave.
Holy smokes. That is incredible. It feels very meta actually to think about. And it feels like, I mean, I'm a solo person in my practice and
Right.
but it does feel very meta to think about, oh, this is a practice that serves mothers and families and the people that are working within it are also potentially mothers and growing their families.
Exactly. And so that's why with maternity leaves, I support the doulas that work with me, and they can take as long as they need or decide
Wow.
that, they're done with the work after baby. It's totally up to them.
Mm,
So as supporting, our clients, I want to also stress the importance of avoiding burnout and supporting my team, whether it's health issues or growing or starting a family.
yeah. Yeah. What's your take on that? Are you a huge proponent of like the fourth trimester, 40 days, 12, weeks, ideally, maybe?
Absolutely. So I have studied many traditional cultures. I've had doula trainings on the Malaysian culture and some of their postpartum traditions, belly binding, and so on. And also had a Zulu doula training years back. And
Cool.
so I studied African traditions. And so I'm fascinated by how this profession has always existed it was an unpaid profession of women supporting others in their family and their village through that postnatal recovery time. So the first 30 to 40 days, depending on the culture, is so important in not only mothering the mother, but also supporting the entire families. And that is the role of a postpartum doula.
Yeah, do you feel like if someone had to pick between birth doula or even like childbirth education prior to giving birth or postpartum, do you ever like think about the those choices, I guess?
Oh, it's challenging
For
because
sure.
every individual has their own personal reasons for wanting support or deciding against it. Could be budget, for example.
Hmm.
And so a childbirth education class would prepare the couple for any sort of intervention, or I would suggest an out of hospital childbirth class, by the way, like hypnobirthing that we offer,
Mm.
or Lamaze that I took with my own two pregnancies, or gentle birth is a newer option, Bradley method. That's very partner involved. So that's certainly an option. And hiring a birth doula, especially if you're delivering in the hospital. The medical system is so overwhelmed right now, and nurses are amazing. I love labor and delivery nurses, but they have other patients and they're monitoring the mother and baby or babies.
Mhm.
So they can't be with the client, patient on their end, the way they'd like to be with that emotional support and physical support that a doula can provide. And the maternal mortality rates are not where they need to be in the United States. Women are still dying in childbirth, especially Black women. And so doulas are known not only to reduce interventions, including surgical births, but increase satisfaction, even if the outcome isn't what our client had planned.
Hmm. Okay. So let's just say they had the budget for
Yeah.
all the things, or I feel like you may share this or have ideas on this. Like how can a couple like truly prepare to make sure these are parts of their yeah, preparation, I guess, for lack of a better term. Because I feel like there's only so much you can do to prepare for a birth. Like creating a birth plan. I don't even think people think about creating postpartum plans. I feel like maybe the thing that they're thinking about is, if anything, it's village driven, hopefully. But like a meal train is kind of the
Right.
extent of that. But there's
Or
so
a
much
shower
more.
thrown by friends or the employer.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's so much more than that. And I am a big fan of a birth plan, or as I like to call them, a birth preference sheet to be flexible.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about a 4 or 5 page plan, a one pager with your primary goals. So anyone who is supporting you, a midwife, your OB, your nurses, your doula is on the same page. And it's a great discussion point in pregnancy with your provider to know how they feel about interventions, induction, and make sure that you're on the same page. And as consumers, we have the ability to switch providers. In fact, with my first pregnancy, I switched from an OB to a nurse midwifery practice, and not only switched practices, but also switched hospitals,
Hmm.
as my desire to have an unmedicated birth didn't seem to be on the same page with that particular provider. I'm not saying the practice, but that provider seemed to have more patients that plan to get an epidural as soon as they got to the hospital.
Interesting, interesting. How did they take that news? Just curious.
It was so early in pregnancy that I honestly didn't have a hard time. She barely knew me.
Got it. Cool, cool, cool. And did you do the
Yeah.
same thing with your second?
So
Like
I stayed
stayed
with
with
that
your,
same nurse midwifery practice. the funny thing is with my second, they left the practice, all three midwives, a month before I delivered, and they were
What?
overseen by two OBs. So it was too late. I felt like I was invested, wanted that prenatal care. So I did have doulas the second time around. I knew what they were by then. And I felt like I could just continue with the OBs that were supportive of midwives in the first place.
Hmm.
And yeah, and had a very different birth the second time around than I did the first.
In what ways? Can you divulge a little bit?
Yes. So I had the perfect pregnancy until I didn't. So my midwife kept, she was amazed. I was traveling the state as a political fundraiser, by the way, and was advanced maternal age with both of my pregnancies. And
Ooh,
I
wait, can you be
developed,
specific? Are
yeah,
you willing
so
to share that?
30, yeah, so I was 36 with my first pregnancy and 38 with my second.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Love
And
it.
so I was put in that category of high risk due to my age and the fact that I had not had children prior to that advanced maternal age.
Got it.
So, yes. And I was put on bed rest once the preeclampsia signs were, established at 37 weeks.
Mm,
And I was induced at 39 weeks. And so I was able to luckily avoid many interventions, although as a planner, having taken a breastfeeding class, a childbirth class, read all the books like The Birth Partner, watched documentaries like Business of Being Born, and had my husband, on the same page. And then everything changed with the bed rest and induction. And so my body wasn't able to go into labor on its own. And so that was stressful, but we avoided a lot of interventions that I didn't want. So I didn't end up with an epidural or a Pitocin. And my daughter was posterior. So I had back labor, which was challenging, and she was not responding well on the monitor. So there was consistent talk of a cesarean being potentially needed. But my husband had me, on hands and knees, a technique we learned in Lamaze. And the nurse walked in and helped him shift my hips a little bit. She walked out of the room, and then all of a sudden I felt pushy. So my daughter flipped and I was
wow.
pushing. And as I started pushing, my midwife mentioned that she had called an OB in for a cesarean. So I narrowly avoided it.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, it's wild. And we found out that my daughter had the cord wrapped around her arm,
Oh.
which was why the monitors were not happy.
Got it. Got it.
But yeah, I ended up with a 4-day NICU stay for my daughter. She was low weight and had some glucose issues. So I was back and forth from my room, which again, I was very thankful to not be recovering from a surgical birth with the back and forth, but I was not able to room in and wasn't able to establish breastfeeding. So she went from an IV to enhanced formula
Mm,
to my pumped milk. And then I had 10 minutes here or there toward the end of her stay to be able to attempt breastfeeding, but she was so used to the bottle and it was so much easier for her that I had those challenges. And I feel like my journey gave me so much more empathy as a doula,
I'm
having
sure.
experienced a NICU or a birth plan that didn't go the way I wanted, and some medical issues. Preeclampsia is serious. And so again, as I mentioned, I hired doulas with my second. My son was born past my due date. So 2 days passed, and I
Mm.
experienced labor on my own. And my doulas arrived to my house and told me that I needed to get to the hospital, that things were very close. So I had been laboring on my own, and informed them but how I was doing. But having had back labor and an induction, what I was feeling didn't seem to be real labor. It's like warm up to me.
Hmm.
So I was much further along than I thought.
Yeah.
Basically got to triage, got checked into my room and delivered my son with the OB. So yeah,
Wow.
it was
Wow.
very quick, like matter of minutes.
Were you also on your hands and knees for that, or were you in another
I was
position?
laboring on my hands and knees for most because I felt the pressure. And when my water broke is when I started pushing with him.
Hmm.
And so that helped relieve a lot of the pressure, but I actually delivered in more of the traditional position.
Mm-hmm.
So on your back with your chin down. And yeah, the traditional
Yeah.
pushing position is what felt best to me. The OB didn't restrict me by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so nice that you could just land in your body and feel into what actually felt doable and appropriate for you, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like that's part of also, did the doulas help you in that case? Like, or yeah, how did the doulas, like, what was the presence of the doulas like for you in that second birth? You had multiple?
So I had two doulas. One was learning from the owner of the collective.
Oh,
So
cool.
I ended up with two instead of one at my birth. And so, yes, they were applying counter pressure and giving me encouragement. But again, it was so quick that everything in my plan, like wanting a labor soundtrack and all of this time with my doulas, it was, I mean, they were there an hour total. So,
Wow.
which my son was born on Halloween. So they got to go home to
Oh.
their own families. And yes. So, and then my daughter was able to celebrate, even though she was little, to get in the costume and have my husband go home briefly to see her.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he was the Halloween baby.
Oh my gosh, I love that. My partner is the day before Halloween, and I feel like
Oh,
Halloween Scorpios, they're so cute.
they are. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Did you end up having a postpartum doula as well? Like, did maybe the birth doula carry over at all? Like
No.
for you and your
So,
family?
as birth doulas, we offer postpartum follow-up visits. So, my
Hmm.
doulas came to my house a couple weeks after I delivered, checked in on me. But postpartum doulas were not that well known in my community
Mm.
and certainly didn't offer some of the services that Gold Coast does, like overnight postpartum support. The doulas in my area that did offer that service were mainly short daytime shifts and focused more on cleaning up and light meal preparation, some of those physical tasks, and were not necessarily newborn care focused the way my agency is, although we also provide daytime household tasks.
I love that. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about like the newborn care and more of like the overnight staying. I feel like that's I don't know a lot of people that offer that here where I am either in North County, San Diego. I'm sure there are. I just haven't connected. I feel like most of the women I know that are in the birth work world are birth and or postpartum for like daytime shifts. Or they're like lactation consultants and they can come like whenever you need, but usually during the day.
Right. And there are different fields that offer that service. I happen to be a newborn care specialist as well as a postpartum doula. So, newborn care specialists offer 24/7 support, live in care, overnight care, and they're focused on caring for baby only. So, that term night nurse or baby nurse or night nanny would be the new profession, which is newborn care specialist. Or there's the postpartum doula that is focused on the entire family and supporting the mother with feeding and recovery, as well as if their training is newborn focused, like the doulas on my team have, then they're also able to do overnight care and care for baby.
Got it. Can you be like super frank and lay out what these potential price points are? Like, what is the investment of working with a birth doula, a newborn specialist, and then a postpartum overnight, let's just say, doula?
And you're in San Diego, so it's going to be much higher than
Oh,
Grand
for sure.
Rapids, Michigan. And even like Detroit is so much higher than my
Yeah.
area in Michigan. But from what I know about California, I would say birth doulas are likely 3,000 or so. And there are benefits that cover doulas. Some doulas with more experience might be five, some newer doulas might be 1,000 in your area. In my area, our rate started 1,000 and go to 1,400 for birth.
Mm,
And then it depends as far as postpartum for the packages and the number of babies. So the more, if you have twins or triplets, you're paying more per hour from
got
my agency. Not all doulas operate that way.
hmm
And so our starting price for one baby is 37 an hour, but I know in California it could be 50 to 60 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it would also depend on experience level and if they are a postpartum doula or a newborn care specialist.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so those are the price points for that. Thank you for sharing. And you're so right that California is just kind of a little outrageous in those ways. I guess obviously cost of living here is just a little bit more, but that makes sense. And I feel like from a standpoint of woman supporting women, like it's so interesting, right? Like what an interesting thing this work is because we want to give women this care and we want the
Right.
women who are caring in this way to feel valued and be earning what it is they're really giving. You know what I mean? Um,
100%. And luckily, there are benefits that cover birth and postpartum doulas, especially fertility benefits like Carrot that covers up to 6 weeks. And I have recently found out that some employers that have Carrot fertility benefits go up to 12 weeks.
I've never heard of
And
this. Carrot?
day and overnight carrot, just like the
Okay.
vegetable.
Okay.
And a
Love
lot
that.
of tech companies or banks have these fertility benefits, but also, automotive and a variety of companies you wouldn't even expect. But these benefits cover birth doulas, they cover day and overnight postpartum doulas.
Mm.
And it all depends on, of course, the employer plan on how much the coverage is. Some have a set amount and others are more stipend focused that you can use either birth or postpartum, but your limit is, let's say, 2,000 for some of the benefits that I'm aware of, but Carrot is a much larger benefit. But Progeny is fantastic. They support families with the fertility benefits. Maven has
Hmm.
virtual classes and doulas, and some Maven benefits cover doulas. And then there are military benefits like TRICARE,
Hmm.
health savings, and flex spending often cover birth and postpartum doulas. And there are even registry plans like Be Her Village that I'm registered in, where you can add doulas or pelvic floor physical therapists, mental health therapists, whatever your dream birth and baby team is,
Mm.
to your registry, and people can gift you support.
I am obsessed with that. I was actually just thinking, we have these call them insurance companies, right, for just general health and like medical needs. But it sounds like some of these companies are almost like insurance companies in a way, right? Where
Right.
they're kind of helping you meet in the middle a little bit. And I'm just wondering, as a provider, essentially, as the agency, are you receiving enough, I guess, compensation even that makes all those things worthwhile? It's like kind of like having a middleman in a way. Yeah, this is so not a topic that we normally talk about here on the podcast, but I'm
Right.
just like, it is interesting, right? Like, yeah, great if you have the benefits and use them. Like, please use them. And if it gives you access to some of these services that are, I think, in any case, so beneficial, it's going to help you in your recovery. It's going to help you feel like you can tackle motherhood, right?
Right.
Um, like use them
It
and
is. And people often, I don't even know all of my husband's benefits. And
uh-huh,
so it is important in pregnancy to look into what might be covered.
right,
So whether it's mental health, so counseling, or physical therapy, chiropractic care,
right.
whatever service might be covered as you're looking at what your needs are
Yeah.
and your dream team. Sometimes there are even fitness stipends or
Hmm.
health club memberships that are in employer benefits
And like
that can
alternative
be
medicine
very,
is, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was
oh,
just
not at all.
thinking like, yeah, a lot of alternative medicine quotes, like acupuncture and massage are being incorporated into these healthcare benefits as well. So, which I
Yeah.
think we all know by now helps with fertility.
100%. I'm a big fan of acupuncture for fertility and certainly diet,
Oh yeah.
lowering stress, all of the things. And
Yes.
so it is funny, we do have clients reach out that are preconception and are
Mm.
curious about doulas. So I will walk them through what to budget and give them resources. And so yeah, the work is so important. And I love that there are these benefits that not only cover fertility support, and some employer benefits even cover surrogacy and adoption,
Mm.
and also continue that care beyond conception to provide birth and postpartum doula support.
Mm. Yeah, just the whole spectrum. I mean, it's all needed, right? So,
Right. Yeah, it's that holistic care that is lacking in traditional medicine and the
mhm.
mind body connection. And I feel like birth is not only a physical act, but is very mental. And, we started out your podcast with a meditation
Mhm.
before we began chatting, and everything from affirmations to a mindset is so important, not only in preconception, but in pregnancy, labor, and certainly early postpartum.
Yeah, I mean, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, it's all happening. I feel like preconception for sure. I don't know, I'm like looking into spirit baby stuff right now. I think it's
Oh,
so
yes.
interesting and I mean, personally, I feel slightly clairvoyant when it comes to a spirit baby and I've shared about her I think on the podcast before, but um yeah, it's it's even starting all the way there. And then, of course, you go through all these changes while you're pregnant. And I mean, it's just really fascinating. Quickly interrupting this episode to let you know about a new free guide that I have for you. Held is an easy to access online resource to help you on the prenatal to postpartum journey. Why I created this is because I found myself as a holistic pelvic physical therapist repeating a lot of the same information for my pregnant clients about their pelvic floors, and all of them wanted the same thing: a vaginal tear-free birth and an easier recovery in postpartum, as well as a smooth return to the activities and workouts that they love. And what I noticed is that the clients who implemented these principles got what they were looking for. This guide is full of the things I want every woman to know about their pelvic floors at the minimum, but especially if they plan on and desire to give birth. I wanted it to be accessible and easy to comprehend, so linked throughout the pages of the PDF guide are videos for you to watch on the whys and hows. I truly believe that these principles and practices will make all the difference in your entire pregnancy, birth, and postpartum experience. Head to the freebie link in the show notes and download your free copy today. And now back to the episode. What I'm really noticing is how often it is an identity shift.
Right.
And specifically, at least like with my work right now, it's like trying to help these mothers feel back into their sense of self through pleasure
Yes.
and renaming that for themselves in whatever stage they're in, including pregnancy, but for sure in postpartum, whenever they feel ready, right? And curious about that. But it is such a mind game, I guess, right? And it's hormonal too, of course, like while you're nurturing this new babies, maybe, and you're trying to tap into this maybe energy of more, yeah, just a more sexual essence, which is what created the babies in the first place. And like
Exactly.
finding that within themselves. It's like, it's the same energy to me, but
Right. And it can be so delicate in, that 6 week appointment when you get cleared
ugh,
for intimacy. And some women are ready for it and wanted to, connect much earlier with their partner. And others were hoping for a medical reason for delay and fear,
isn't that
the
interesting?
pain that comes with sex. And so, yes, it can certainly be an experience that is either fear-filled or much wanted and needed. And I do talk to my families, whether it's a birth doula client or a postpartum client, about the importance in taking time to connect and feel like you're not just in the role of a mother. Like you are your pre-pregnancy self, you're a partner if you are in a relationship, that is, and how to connect with the change, whether it's baby one or baby five. It's still going through the matrescence experience all over again. And it is hard to feel desirable with the extra weight, the hormonal shifts. I mean, we're leaking and our needs are not our own oftentimes. And so to take that time emotionally and sometimes physically to connect with our partner or ourselves is so needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always encourage them to connect with themselves first and foremost,
Yes.
and just even just by looking, um, yeah, that you can think of that as like yoni gazing or
Right.
yeah, just like any kind of soft mirror work, but it could just even start at the face and start at the rest of the body, like while you're maybe pray to God that you're getting a shower and having some time to yourself there. But like even in just caring for your body through putting on lotion or like dressing yourself up in a way that makes you feel good, or yeah, I don't know, just finding this sense of self. Like maybe, like you said, it's like tapping into that pre-pregnancy identity, but also like, is there a new version of you that wants to come through right now? And yeah, I don't know. That postpartum stage is so fascinating. And when I say postpartum, I almost think beyond, the 40 days or the fourth trimester. I'm like 7 years kind of is
Right.
my like timeline for early postpartum.
I agree. It's much longer even than the first year that we work through.
Yeah.
And then many clients have back-to-back babies, so you're constantly
Oh.
going through that cycle. And it is it's hard to set intentional time for yourself and for your relationship. But I feel like it can be challenging on relationships to have kids. And so if you're not connecting emotionally and or physically, then that can lead to additional issues. And I like to find out with clients how they want to connect. If a doula is in their home, could they maybe have a dinner and
Mm.
in their home, they're not leaving their baby. And then the doula is focusing on the child. So they're able to talk the way they used to before the birth, and then connect and find that time to not just be parents, but be romantic partners.
That's actually a really interesting point. I'm glad you mentioned that because, like, at what point would someone need to be like, okay, I'm your doula, as one of your agency members, like, I'm your doula, not your babysitter, so that you can, like, when would they need to hire a babysitter versus hire a doula, in your opinion?
So, in every doula is different because of
Uh-huh.
our liability insurance. My agency does not do date night babysitting,
Okay. So they have
and
to be in the home while the doula's there.
at least one parent
Yeah.
would need to be in the home. That's why, again, the dinner in the house, or they
Yes.
could go for a walk together and connect. And certainly school drop-offs and short errands are fine.
Mhm.
But if they're looking for a way to get out together as a couple, then a nanny share or having an au pair or a babysitter or a family member. Of course, the grandparents love to help with date nights.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, if they live nearby.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, speaking on that and like friends and families, like say a couple has like their first baby and
Yeah.
they have hired a doula. What would you say would be the differences in roles between like parents? We have parents, we have the doula, and then we have family members. Like in terms of responsibilities and or like how could a client of yours, the new parents, be very specific in what's the doula's role and then what's like family members, um, grandparents? I feel like sometimes think they're special and they are, they very much are, but maybe there's some differentiation in what goes on in the house when they're all together.
Yes. And we often support our families initially when grandparents are either visiting or living in the home the first week or two.
Yeah.
And so I like to find out what the client's goals are. Again, those roles that you talked about, grandparents love to hold the baby. So if it's a daytime doula, she might do some of the household tasks, or maybe a grandparent or other family members helping with doing laundry or some of the household errands and tasks. So we have a communication form that really lays out anyone else that might be in the household, what their role is. And we are there to support without judgment. And family members and friends are certainly well meaning, but they often have an idea of how we should parent or feed our baby. And so that advice is not always wanted by our clients. So we can help navigate some of those difficult conversations.
I love that. So like as a moderator, essentially, you're helping them get
Yeah,
through that and like keep the boundaries in the same way that maybe a birth doula is helping the the mother lay those boundaries down or at least stick to her preferences.
exactly. Because sometimes family members are at the birth as well. And so we
Mhm.
like to find out what the grandmother wants her role to be. Is she holding, is she the hand holder? Is she taking a coaching role? Or is she just planning to sit on the couch and watch baby get born?
Right, right. It was so interesting. So we had some friends who just had a baby and we're part of the meal train and we brought over food and it was so lovely. Um, I feel like it was one of those special circumstances because I mean, yeah, I've been a pelvic physical therapist for a bit now, and
Right.
um, I felt very lucky to be welcomed into even like my clients' homes days, like 2 days after the baby is there. And it's usually just to give some hands-on support and love for the mom and um, help them look through things, feel things that they're concerned about, right?
Right.
And I feel like typically I don't hold the baby and but I definitely like see them and just in so much awe. So this couple that are friends, we went over there and I was expecting like I'm bringing food, we're dropping it off. They offered or said in prior to us being there that they wanted to like show us their new house and like walk around and everything and get a little tour and I'm like, "Great. Sounds like a 30-minute visit, have the
Right.
food and go see their space and meet the baby." But we I just like love my friend so much. She's like, "Do you want to hold her?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I would love that." She like asked if I wanted to. There was like no pressure. There was no, you know, um
Right.
preconceived notion, but I'm like, I felt a little strange at some points like, "Are you sure you want me to hold her? Like, do you want me to do something else for you? Like, I'm happy to heat up your food." And but they were like, "Yeah, and do you want some food?" I'm like, "No, I want you to eat the food." And they were just so sweet, and we ended up hanging out for quite a while. But I think that's what this couple really wanted. They wanted to just relate and connect and hang out, and obviously they ate their food and maybe they felt awkward that they were eating and we weren't, but they didn't say that. I think it was just one of those fun times. Like I got to hold the baby and she fell asleep on me and fell asleep on my partner at one point too. And we just had the best time, but we're there for a couple of hours.
That's obviously what they needed is
Yeah.
friendship and connection and not again feeling like they're in the thick of early parenting. They
Right.
wanted that adult interaction,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
which
so
is so needed.
it is really needed, I think. And I I don't know if you know anything about human design, but I'm kind of a nerd into it. And I have a teacher that I'm learning through, and she has kind of brought in this awareness for me because I'm not a mother yet, fingers crossed. Um, but she just like based on my design, based on like my birth chart, essentially, she's like, I think you'll struggle a little bit if you don't have adult connection while the baby's young. And I can totally see that. Like I remember when I was going through PT school and doing internships, I definitely thought I was going to go into pediatrics. And so I did a peds rotation.
Okay.
And after those 7, 8 weeks, however long it was, I realized I don't think I could work with kids all the time, like especially babies or um,
Right.
non-communicative children, because I crave rich, deep conversation, and children just aren't going to get that out of me all the time at that
No.
age. So
It's so different. And
yeah,
yeah, your heart is obviously with women, as mine is.
yeah,
Many doulas on my team, especially postpartum doulas, love to hold the baby and all of the baby snuggles and newborn care. But my passion is supporting women in
mm,
helping empower them and helping them to thrive. And so that is my primary motivation. And I can tell that that essence is in you. And you are so warm and personable, and your work
thank
is
you.
so important. I rave about pelvic floor physical therapy to my clients, and I'm thankful that providers are now recommending it. When I started as a doula, it was not brought up. People didn't know about it unless doulas talked about it, or, it was on a podcast like yours, or some select articles here and there. But now, similar to doulas, your profession is becoming more and more known.
Yes, yes. Thank goodness. And I feel, yeah, very lucky. And I'm sure you have the same thing where you are, where the network of these birth workers or just the providers that do support women in the birth space, like we're all connected in one way, shape, or another. Um,
100%. Yes.
yeah,
We need each other.
we
And
do. You can't do it all. Like sometimes I wish I could do it all, but also, nah, I'm going to stay in my lane. Come,
right.
come to me, and I will help you with the pelvic floor things and get us into maybe even a more energetic alignment. Do you feel like I feel this in you, and I'm just going to name it. Um, do you feel like there's an element of like women's coaching, life coaching in a way that you're offering, maybe for the people that are working with you, not as clients, but as in your agency and or with your clients?
Certainly with the doulas and with my agency. I mean, I have sleep consultants, lactation consultants,
Yeah.
educators, all of it. And I am as passionate about empowering the people who work for me as I am my clients. And so I do feel like I coach them. I offer mentoring after they join my agency, and continued education and leadership opportunities. And so I do feel that, as you mentioned when asking about pay and rates, that our work is undervalued in society. I mean, having come from corporate America and advertising sales and political fundraising, even now when I tell people what I do, it's looked down a bit as, women doing women's work and not a true career. So I like the doulas on my team to have sustainability, to replace their former income. So I have nurses on my team. Some still work in hospitals a couple days a week, and others have replaced their income fully as a doula. And then I have overnight doulas that have children at home during the day and their partners there overnight to care for them. And then they are making what they would in a daytime job and not having childcare costs. So it is supporting women, allowing them to contribute to their family and not have the burdens of childcare because they can pick and choose their schedule with my agency.
Okay. Yes. Can you say more about that? Because that was something I was actually thinking about. I have a lot of friends who maybe they aren't in partnerships, maybe they don't have kids of their own, and I could see it being doable there where you're like, on call for births, you're on call sometimes for other things, but primarily birth, I'd say.
Right.
But like once you say have a family of your own as a doula, birth and or postpartum, or any of these other providers, like you're saying, sleep and lactation and newborn specialties, how does one like it just doesn't make sense in my head. Like how can one balance their own family and give this kind of care to other families? But it sounds like you figured it out.
I'm trying. So, with families that want a lot of support, like that day and nighttime support, 7 days a week, then I have multiple doulas working in their home and they communicate with each other. So they're able to select the days and the shifts that they want. And then some clients want one doula. And so I'm able to do the matchmaking. But with birth, it's a bit different. Some doulas on my team prefer to work solo. And so they will take time off call and then take clients when it works for them. So, say they want to have Christmas with their family, then they will block off time and not take a client who's due around Christmas or New Year's. And I will have, a big enough team where I can meet any inquiries needs. And then I also have a team model that I introduced in my community when I started Gold Coast of two doulas supporting the family and sharing call. So you don't have to miss a child's birthday like I have, or I can attend a conference with a partner and be gone for a couple of days or plan a vacation and know that my client has support from someone that they know equally to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the doulas that are solo, of course, there's illness or emergencies that come up. And so they have backup within our team. And
Mm.
that is comforting because, again, I vet everyone, they're background checked, they have insurance. Where when I was a solo doula and backed up other doulas, I was going in not really knowing much about the client, having a different skill set potentially from the doula that I was backing up in my community. And the same goes if I needed to call a backup. It wasn't necessarily the same approach where with an agency or a practice model, you're going to get a similar doula.
Right, right. Oh, that makes so much sense to do it that way. Like, even just for the doula to have the ability to live the life that they want to live while also
Right.
serving this potentially. I would assume that a lot of them see it as their life purpose and their life's
Absolutely.
work. It is, yeah, because it is very much so soul work, I think, when you're in this field.
Yeah, for me, it's very sacred work and I don't take it lightly. I feel like the hospital setting, it tends to be very clinical. And this is a major transition in life. And you never forget your birth, no matter if it was exactly as you imagined or like mine that had all the twists and turns. And so you don't get a do-over. So having that support, and when I walk into a hospital room or home birth, I'm leaving everything from my day behind. And I am 100% focused on my client. And I certainly, encourage the doulas on my team to have that same kind of reverence to what I consider the holiness of birth.
Mm, yeah, I love that. There is an absolute reverence for this work. I mean, I say the word pussy on this podcast, and there's just, you got to respect the pussy.
Yeah, women are powerful. We, not only are able to conceive and I don't want to say create life necessarily, but we are so strong and resilient and we know how to mother not only children of our own, but we mother the world. And our role is so important. And whether you're an auntie or a friend, we're all mothers. We were created that way.
I agree. I totally agree. Um, yeah, just making me think back to literally last night. I was teaching 9 and 10-year-old girls and talking with their moms present. So like 10 of them, uh,
Oh,
10 girls, 10 moms about their menstrual cycles and how to support themselves in that way and how to like teaching them even general placement of anatomy on their bodies right now and preparing them for an empowered puberty, which is so different maybe than what a lot of us experienced growing up. And
yes.
yeah, it's like we can mother in so many different ways, whether it's by taking care of someone's household or teaching the younger generation about things that we weren't taught about with regards to our bodies. It's
Oh, we absolutely, it was not talked about. And so I'm thankful that so many topics are more open today. I mean, even menopause is having its day and perimenopause right
oh, it
now.
sure is.
And I'm going through it myself. So it's timely.
Oh, it's so good. I'm so glad that it's getting more spoken about. It's yeah, it's definitely something I want to bring into the podcast as well here. Because these are all these, like we said, right? Birth is a huge life transition. Huge. It's just one of those spots though. Like I think puberty is definitely one of them. I think, having sex maybe for the first time is one of them.
Yes,
Experiencing your own
absolutely.
pleasure, having conceiving and then having a baby postpartum, maybe for the first, second, third time, whatever, go on and go on. And then perimenopause and then
Right. And then
postmenopause.
having your last cycle in that time of transition. And as they
Yeah.
say, like getting into the crone, the wise woman phase, and
Mm-hmm.
where you just don't care anymore. And you're going to be as, you know, badass as, and you can cut that out if you need to.
No, no, you can say anything. I said
Women
pussy.
just, yeah, women are more powerful as we age because we stop caring about what society expects of us.
I call it like walking into your queendom. Yeah, you're on the threshold. You're walking up to the throne basically right now.
Yes.
It's so
And so
good.
many cultures do have that reverence for the aging process and the wisdom,
My God.
especially of women in communities.
It's really interesting. I'm not going to be able to articulate it as well as I want to, I don't think, but this is literally just coming to me right now. The whole interesting conversation about aging gracefully is it's very, yeah, it's so funny to me. Like we're so afraid of aging. And why? Is it just because of the way we would look, or yeah, we look different than the way we did? Are we worried about becoming wise for some reason because that would require maybe more responsibility? But I was thinking about it just even in terms of last night. Like I personally look younger, I think, than what my actual age is. I just turned 35 and I told the girls at the talk last night were like thinking I was somewhere in my 20s. Some of them were
I
being a
would have
bit,
thought late 20s, absolutely.
yeah, like they were being facetious and they were like, "I thought you were 16." And I'm like, "No." Like, do you
I
see my
figured with all of your, credentials that you had to at least
exactly.
be.
Exactly. On the timeline of, going to school for undergrad and then graduate school and then being in my practice for however many years, like you could do the math. But yeah, and I only took 1 year break between undergrad and grad school to work. And yeah, but it was so funny because in a way I'm like, I'm not offended that they thought I was younger. I'm never offended when someone thinks I'm younger, and I've never actually gotten like an older age guess, but in a weird way, I feel like looking younger, it gets me this in with girls that are younger. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
I look closer to their age than their mom looks to their age. And so I feel like I fill this gap in a strange way. And like I am like the auntie or I am like the older cousin that's older than their older sister, right? Because it's not like their mom had a girl my age, but it's yeah, it's really, really funny. Like I of course want to lean into aging with my age and with my wisdom, with my acquired wisdom. I mean, but I do all my self-care practices. I do all the skincare things that in quotes. But I don't alter myself necessarily other than makeup on a day-to-day
Same.
basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I wonder if at some point I'll age out of the the ability to quote unquote blend in with these 9 and 10 year olds the way I do right now.
And yeah, they think you're cool and they can trust you where
Yeah.
I'm not cool as a mom. So my daughter doesn't want me to talk to her friends about anything to do with my profession, for example,
Really? Wait, okay,
or
so
birth or babies. It's embarrassing.
how old is your daughter?
She's in eighth grade.
Okay, so she's like 13-ish.
Yeah, she
That's about
and so she and her friends, she's 14. Yeah, I mean, it's a time of transition for them all. And so she really doesn't want me to talk about her body or changes. And I had talked about having a rite of passage ceremony, inviting her friends. And she's like, no, mom, absolutely not.
Oh my
That is
God.
so embarrassing. I'm
Oh
like,
my
well, it's a
gosh.
big moment, like back when, she got her period for the first time and she did not want any sort of red tent type of ceremony.
Dang it. Dang it.
But I was ready to throw
You
one.
like, I would have, okay, if you were my mom, I probably would have been like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like in my head right now.
Totally.
That's what I would want to do. I mean, that's something I told the girls too. I was like, you know, many of you haven't had your period, but we're talking about it now because girls are getting their periods a little bit younger.
Yes.
And it's so funny. A lot of them were like shocked. But then I was like, but this can be fun. Like you can go with your moms after, we looked through all these products and talked about them to care for their periods. I'm like, you can go out and select the ones that you want and put them in this cute little bag if you want. You can get new underwear, you can get teas and anything else that honestly makes you feel like you want to care for yourself, you know?
Yes.
It surprised me actually after the fact. The girls were out playing, and so I was just talking with the moms, and the moms were like, yeah, all of them are super into skincare and SPF and okay, good for you, good on you. I'm glad for you. So I'm like thinking in my head, this would be perfect. It's just another element of their self-care that
Yes.
they just haven't attached yet because they haven't experienced it yet.
And one thing is like with athletes, and my daughter plays volleyball.
Oh yeah.
And so there are now like shorts that are like period panty shorts for
Mm.
sports in case you get your cycle while you're playing. And so there are a lot of those conversations with certain sports. I'm sure swimmers have concerns, gymnasts.
We talked about swimming because we live coastally and
Yeah,
everyone's out in the ocean, everyone surfs or swims and everyone's got a backyard pool even though the ocean's right there.
right. Of
So we
course.
we did talk about that. And yeah, it's really interesting too, the comfortability or the talk about even um inserting any kind of internal product, whether that's a tampon or a cup or a disc.
Right.
The discs, I think, look a lot more intimidating for the young girls. I think sometimes the cups look super cute and also less intimidating than a tampon.
Yes. A tampon can be intimidating, that's for sure.
Right, right. So we like talked through that, and I was like, honestly, if you're quote, I mean, maybe I would say it's a little differently, but I was like, even just from a look at yourself standpoint, be brave, go home, get a mirror, sit in front of a mirror, and just like look at your body. Can you find all these points in your body? Can you find your main holes?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
so important. Even, grown women don't understand their own anatomy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I would hate, so this is what I guess my intention, right? It's like I would love for these girls to learn this now, learn about their anatomy now so that by the time if they decide they want to become mothers, they feel empowered to look at themselves, feel themselves, offer their own bodies perineal stretching when it came to that point,
yes.
and then not being afraid to look at their bodies during birth if they felt called to, or it helped them connect deeper with their body and what they were doing. Especially if they say had an epidural and couldn't feel anything, it's like seeing is another way to connect. Um, but then, yeah,
Right. Or if they
being
had a tear, internal or
exactly,
external, and they're healing and
exactly.
they have fear.
Yep,
Yes.
yep. Being empowered around their sex and how they want to express that and feel into that. It's all connected. It's a very interwoven space, obviously. I
Yes.
just feel like sometimes people don't realize that there are many ways these are all intersected. Yeah.
And your podcast gets the discussion going. And I mean, look at where we
I know.
took this.
I know.
So
So rad. So rad.
it's all connected. Absolutely.
It really is. Okay, Kristen, are there any, I guess, last words of advice or encouragement for women? I feel like you said a couple of like amazing things before we got into this conversation about periods and these young girls and whatnot. But yeah, so curious if you have any of those, maybe something that you hadn't mentioned that you would like to say.
My biggest takeaway is trust your instincts, even as a new mom. No one knows your body better than you do or your baby. And so speak up if something feels off. And it's so important to advocate for yourself with medical professionals, any other support teams, because women are still dying in childbirth. The infant mortality rates are not where we need them to be. And so it's so important, not only in pregnancy and in childbirth, to speak up, but in that postnatal time. Women sometimes just want to be strong and avoid complaining about physical issues, and you see it as well. And so it's important to see a pelvic floor physical therapist if intimacy is still uncomfortable, or we don't have to worry about sneezing and leaking. It is not normal and to be uncomfortable or to leak. And so seeking support like yours and finding mental health therapists, for example, anyone to hear you fully. If there's birth trauma to be processed, doulas help process our clients' births, but seeing a therapist. And so don't be afraid to ask for help. We are Wonder Women, but we aren't meant to do this work alone as mothers. And avoiding isolation is so important in today's society, where we feel like we know how our friends are doing from their Instagram post or their social media post, but do we really? Nothing can replace that in-person connection. So don't isolate yourself and trust your instincts.
I love all of that. Thank you so much for naming it. And I'm so grateful that you were here to share this message. And if you are in Grand Rapids, Michigan, or in the greater area, I'm assuming, please reach out to Kristin and the Gold Coast Doulas. Thanks for listening, you guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening and putting your finger on the Pelvic Pulse podcast. I'm Brittany Ellers. This episode's music was created by Just Tech. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love for you to follow the show on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you listen. Just tap that follow button. And if this episode resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. That is how this work ripples outward. If you're new to my world or want to deepen your connection to your pelvic health, I have a gift for you. Visit the link in the show notes to explore all of my free resources. Whether you're curious, healing, or reclaiming, this is a beautiful place to begin. And if something stirred in you today, if you felt a spark of remembrance or a readiness to go deeper, then I'd love to invite you into Vaginal Alchemy Reloaded. This is my signature journey for women who want to not just heal, but alchemize their relationship with their pleasure, their pelvic space, and their power. It's deep, layered, and held in sisterhood. If you've been thinking about it, now is the time. Pricing increases August 1st. And if you're not quite ready to commit, you can start with Feel, a free guided pelvic mapping session that gives you a taste of the depth and embodiment we move through inside the alchemy. It's experiential, intimate, and reverent. You can learn more about both by heading to the show notes. Trust your timing, but don't ignore your knowing. I'll see you in the next episode.